You're listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, brought to you by Global Convenience Store Focus, featuring senior retail executives and experts in the global convenience, fuels, and mobility retail industry. Hosted by Dan Munford, Nick Scherzer, and Carolyn Schnare. Welcome to the Future of Convenience podcast. I'm Carolyn Schnare, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is food. And I'm going to be talking about it with some of my close convenience industry friends. So we're going to talk a little bit about the extremely popular competition we've talked about a lot on the show, which is the best Foodvenience store in the world. And today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to turn the tables just a little. Instead of having my co-host Dan Munford by my side, I'm going to put him in the hot seat. I'm going to throw some tough questions at you. You ready, Dan?
I always like to feel I'm ready, but depends what the questions are, I suppose, but I will do my best as ever.
Oh, it's stuff you know. It's stuff you love. And in addition to Dan, I'm happy to be joined by a good friend, Frank Gleeson. Thanks for joining us today. And last, I'm welcoming a new friend, Elaine, Kanak, Chief Marketing Officer of Gilbarco, Veeder-Root, and Invenco by GVR. Hi, guys. Thanks, everyone, for joining me today.
Morning.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Fantastic. Well, Dan, here's the hardest question of all. Tell us about the best Foodvenience store in the world competition.
Well, that is not a hard question because we've been immersed in this for many months, and it's taken over. These competitions always take over, and boy, I mean, this one has really taken over as far as we're concerned, and it's generating a huge traction out there. What's it about? I guess is the question. What's the reason it's getting people's interest? I'd say there's three core principles for this from our point of view. One is recognition. We're recognizing the teams that run these stores, often quite complicated stores in terms of the offer in many countries around the world. It's about a global perspective, really looking to case study, showcase how convenience retail is continuing to advance into food service or foodvenience, as we term it. And lastly, third, it's about celebration of excellence and innovation, and looking everything from the customer experience through to operational excellence and performance. So, it's those three things as a core principle. And in terms of the numbers, we've got 32 entries, 6 continents, 15 countries, so it's been phenomenal.
That is a great pickup. And I know this is similar to the competition that we ran last year or last winter, the best EV hub. So I guess in general, you're looking for food. So you got a chance to go around the world and eat, which is, enviable by all. And then also, Frank and Elaine, you guys have had a chance to just really learn, watch. We have all the videos up online for those entrants and tour some of these stores. So I guess, Frank, I'm going to start with you, if that's okay. What are you looking for? What stands out to you as an amazing Foodvenience store?
Hi, Carolyn. So I'm a guy that likes to get out on the ground, and over the last 3 weeks, I've managed to get to some stores in the US, some stores in Portugal, and obviously my favorite hometown, Ireland. So what I'm always looking for when I go onto a location is breadth of offer. So what have you got for the customers, for the different day parts? Are you available to satisfy their needs, their meal occasions, or their requirements in terms of convenience? The second thing I look is, do you get a friendly, welcome? People smile at you. Is the service good? Is merchandising strong? Stores clean? Bathrooms clean? All those kind of operational things that make a store really hum and be successful, and certainly build that foundation for loyalty and repeat customer visit. And then the third thing I always look, is it busy? Is it doing well? So do customers like the store, and are they coming back, and are they buying all the breadth of the products they have? So that to me is kind of drives the engine of profitability, which, you can't invest in these stores unless you make money. So, as a veteran of the industry, I'd say they're the three things. If you get all those three things right, you're going to have a great business.
Easy to do, right? Just click your fingers and you've got a fantastic establishment there. And Elaine, I'm going to ask you real quick, same kind of thing. What do you think about when you think of best operator, best store?
Yeah, so there's some similar themes when I'm looking at this. One is customer experience. So what's the look and feel and the layout of the store? I love stores that have a seating area, an inviting area for people to really make this a destination beyond just the pit stop. Also looking for options that meet customer needs and of different customer segments at different times of the day. So how are we thinking about the family who's looking for a quick meal replacement versus the morning commuter who's looking for a quick bite of coffee? Also looking at technology and how are stores using technology to really increase throughput, to drive customer experience, and to drive that loyalty and that flywheel of positive customer engagement that drives those repeat visits. So those are some of the things that I'm looking for in a store.
Very, very interesting, Elaine. And just, I mean, obviously yourself and Frank were in Dublin looking at quite a few of the entries. Obviously, Ireland's got some entries in this. You know, it would be a surprise if they hadn't got entries, but Ireland's got some very strong entries in this. And you were in Dublin with Frank and looking at some of these entries last week. Can I just ask you one question about that? What was the reaction of the teams, you know, when you were coming into the store? And I'm thinking about the store managers particularly, you know, what was their reaction about the competition and your visit?
I mean, everybody was so gracious. We had amazing hosts at all these locations. They're so proud of their teams and the work that they've done with these stores. And they should be, right? Because the stores that we visited have really stellar offerings, really amazing food selection. I had like an amazing baguette chicken sandwich at one of them that was so delicious and you know, really high quality food offerings. So really fresh. And so, you know, they seemed excited about the opportunity to be featured. They seemed excited to have the chance to meet with us and the team, and just really proud of what they were putting on display. And like I said, they should be proud because they had some really, really amazing stores.
Elaine, since I got you talking, are there any that you visited, and it's okay if you want to even name names, some that you've seen that you just want to just shout out to and tell some cool stories?
Yeah, I mean, I was blown away by one of the Circle K sites that we visited in Kilnorth. Really beautiful layout. Like the merchandise was like glowing. It was like popping out of the walls into your basket, you know. It's like just really nice. And the deli there was really amazing. And they had, you know, a nice offering of both Circle K proprietary as well as like a Supermax there. So that was a really great location. I also really enjoyed the Apple Green Rathcoole that we visited. They have a standalone Brayburn coffee bar that has a drive-through there. Really nice, you know, inviting coffee shop, like very high elevated coffee experience there, you know, on par with other retailers who will not be named, but, you know, really high-end coffee experience. And then they still have, you know, all of the rest of the offerings sort of in the fueling station there. And so I thought that was really great because it really catered to a broad variety of different potential users, like those who are looking for a place to sit down versus those who are just trying to get through and get on with their workday.
What about you, Frank? I know you were on not only those tours with Elaine, but then you came over here and we got to go to a couple stores as well.
Yeah, so I mean, we did a couple of other ones in Ireland, so we were incredibly impressed with the UCD Centra store. It was so busy. I mean, they had queue management issues. It was so busy, right? They were absolutely thronged with students. They had a terrific offer. They had a great system of efficiency, so getting people through the store. You know, a lot of self checkout. I think 80-90% of their checkout is self checkout. So, you know, different format, really, really efficient, really, really high volume. We then went down to the incredible Thomas Ennis, who's a young entrepreneur. I think he's still young, but he's got a number of independent stores. We love Thomas. He's just fresh food crazy, and he's got a really incredible team there. So they rolled out the red carpet, and I think that's where Elaine had a nice lunch there. I know you enjoyed that one. And then obviously we capped it off by a visit to Maxall Ballycoolan, which has been an award-winning site, and you know, certainly Brian and Mark and the team, Andres, gave us a warm welcome. That's a site that a lot of us have seen before. But I was blown away by the USA, Carolyn. To be honest, right, we always think Ireland's brilliant, but the USA is pretty good too, right? So you go to Pennsylvania Market, you're going to see some of the best stores in the world. And I'm not just talking about Sheets, because we went to Sheets too, where you and I had a nostalgic visit there, probably 20 years on from our first time. But, you know, dash in, really impressed me. They had an incredibly strong food program, what I would call the best of the best of the best of QSRs around them. And they'd taken them and brought in a culinary expert that had translated that into their own delivery, which I was super impressed with. You know, fresh donuts, fresh pizza,
And the French
sandwiches were
fries.
to die for. Yeah, I mean, I'm a French guy. I check French fries to see how good they're delivered because there's the hardest product to keep right. And they were beautiful, absolutely incredible. We had lunch there. We had a great lunch.
Mm-hmm.
They also had a to die for fountain program. You know, so that store I think is probably a leading store in the world. I definitely liked everything about it. You know, and I think Blackie and the team
Mm-hmm.
have really built what I would consider next generation of a food convenience unit. It's just terrific. We then went up to Rudders. You didn't come with me, but I went up to see my great friend Chris and obviously see the work that they're doing. And they're building 10,000 square foot convenience stores, right? I mean, that's just huge, right?
Yeah.
New categories, big beer vaults, you know, gambling, you know, in part of the offer, building it for the future. Huge food service program, technology, Elaine, unbelievable technology with like thousands of combinations of food that you can order either on your app or in person on their kiosks, but a lot of customers. So I just feel the market, and I'm going to say the two of the best markets I've visited, obviously, Pennsylvania has always been a hotbed. For me, for 30 years I've been going there. It still keeps getting better. It's a super competitive market, but we've got some great retailers. And then I love Ireland because I'm from here. We've got what I consider a very small competitive market where the players are just killing each other to get ahead, you know, and they're all doing amazing things, which is very exciting for us in the industry. One last thing for you, Dan. I mean, you know, we've been trying to visit as many stores as possible, right? Just to get out and kind of meet the teams, you know. We've had an incredible welcome. I mean, some of the guys, I met Lisa actually in Circle K. I hadn't seen Lisa for 10 years because I've left that business 10 years ago. And I was delighted to see she was still there. A 20-year veteran of that company, still happy to serve customers, still driving it on the front line. And that's the job she enjoys.
Very good, and hats off to you, Frank. You know, for and Elaine as well. You know, for getting out to the entries and going to see them, because you know they've put an awful lot into this competition. You know, they've made videos in many cases just for this competition. You know, they put a lot of thought into the entry. The team are all very engaged. They're all excited about the visit, but you know they want to show it off. I mean, they want these visits. You know, and I think that's something that we've really worked hard at. And Frank, you know, you've been around the world. You know, doing these visits. I have too. I mean, I'm going to have to shout out a few of the other markets, which I think are really up there, you know. And, you know, for instance, I mean, I talk about, obviously, I talk about the Copenhagen market, the Danish market. You know, we've got a very exciting entry from Q8 Noah's there, you know, which has the technology side of it as well as the Foodvenience side of it, you know, and I would say has transformed, you know, that store, that pilot store in Copenhagen has transformed the business, you know, for in that catchment for Q8. So that's very exciting. You know, again, a regular size store, but you know, suddenly with this really strong Foodvenience offer and the technology, which is completely flawless and seamless, you know, in terms of making it easy to access that Foodvenience offer. So that's exciting. I'd say the Denmark market is always going to be one of the markets that you go to around the world to find stuff. In fact, I'm back there again this week, you know, to have another look at it. The other market, of course, I think is interesting in Europe is the Swiss market, Switzerland, because you know we've got Valora and Migrolino in that market. You know, two retailers that are always up there, you know, in terms of innovation. Obviously, particularly interesting to note that Valora with their new Avec format. Of course, Valora, you know, passed for a big global business, not just a European global business, but a European business, but a big global business because of the FEMSA, you know, the FEMSA deal, and they've got a new format with Avec, which is again all about Foodvenience. Like many of the sort of exciting stores in this competition, you know, they've got touchscreen ordering in store. They've got a kitchen that they've developed. And, you know, I went there twice. I went back the second day because I wanted to see what they were like at lunchtime, because they said to me, look, you've got to see this store at lunchtime, Dan, because they're in a really big student area in Zurich. So I went back at lunchtime and they were doing the numbers. You know, they had huge sort of popularity from the student population. So, you know, it was working very well. And, you know, the numbers they were getting in that store were quite phenomenal. Also in Zurich, of course, Migrolino, the convenience part of the Migros group. So again, a really big business. And again, they're doing something very interesting in one of their high quality forecourt stores, which is an arrangement with Vapiano, the well-known Italian restaurant brand. And we were there at lunchtime. A lot of customers in there eating pasta and pizza, and very nice, very nice design to that store as well. So that market's interesting. I wouldn't miss out the UK. I went up to see the new Welcome Break site in Newark in the UK. So looking at, again, something really big that's happening in the UK market, where Welcome Break are building these new to market motorway services. Big site, so it's got multiple formats on there. It's got Greggs, it's got Burger King, it's got Budgeons, it's got a separate Starbucks unit with a drive-through, as well as Pret a Manger as well as part of the offer. So really impressive site there in the UK. I also went to Madrid. I spent some time with Galp, who've got 3 stores in this competition, 2 of them in Portugal. You visited one of them, Frank, and I visited another in Madrid in Spain. And where did we spend most time when we were talking to them? In their kitchen, in their training center, where they're training their staff, to really manage Foodvenience in their sites going forward, and really trying to scale up that expertise, Frank.
And Dan, I'll jump in there. I mean, I know the guys in Galp. It's my local one when I'm down on holidays in Villamura, so I'm very familiar with it, and I go in there all the time. Love what they do. But I hadn't seen the new one, the collaboration with Panaderia up in Lisbon. And I have to say, it was well worth the trip. 2.5-hour trip up. I went a bit early to see it without the guys there and just experience it. And I was blown away by the amount of females and children that were using it. They were using it as their local treat spot, where they went in after the school run, or went in, maybe just for a quick snack. So, there's lots of cool things happening in different places. I do want to shout out to M&S as well. I mean, the one I go into is the one in Waterloo, which actually is in your competition, Dan. The numbers they put through there are phenomenal. That is just kind of a powerhouse of a transit location. And I have to say, it just does strike me that this year we've really captured the imagination of the retailers. We've had 32 entries. We could have had 132 entries, Dan, because there's loads of people I didn't see in there that I want to see in there next year. They need to be getting out and showcasing what they have, because the group we have at the moment, and we will have a winner ultimately, I think is just incredible. The market's moved so far up. I think the QSRs need to start getting worried, right? I think our sector is starting to eat into their market share, and we're a huge threat to them, I think, going forward, because of the capability, the locations, and the operational expertise that we see in our channel.
I think the global sort of perspective on this is interesting. And Elaine, I guess you travel a lot globally and look at lots of different markets, don't you? I mean, you work in all the markets. I think that we've got competing for this. I mean, what's your perspective on how fast the food service side of the business is changing, and what are its needs? From a technology perspective, what are the needs that it has?
Yeah, absolutely. So the food service, I mean, what we're seeing is that it's becoming an increasingly critical part of a retailer's profitability, and really a key driver of customer loyalty, right? And it's an incredibly competitive market, right? Not only are convenience retailers competing with one another, they're also competing with, small format grocery and QSR, et cetera. So, it's quite competitive. And so food service is really an opportunity for retailers to establish themselves, their brand personality, to really have a unique offering that's, tailored to their specific customers, and that drives that ongoing customer engagement and loyalty. And some of the things that I've seen that are really resonating is, of course, the ability to order through different types of interfaces, right? In-store kiosks, self-ordering, self-checkout. Can I order on my mobile ahead of time to pick it up? Can I order through DoorDash and these delivery apps? Can I order at the pump? Something we're releasing in the US here shortly. Something that retailers, at least in the US, are really excited about, just to really bring that experience together, and also to drive customers who are on the forecourt into the store, right? So that's something that we're seeing is really critical. I'll also say that there's some markets that have done a really excellent job of making their locations a real destination and a place that you want to spend time. So obviously Ireland is a great example of that, but I was also just recently in Brazil and I saw much the same there, right? Where you've got real local food offerings, you've got really nice, beautiful seating areas, and it's really just an inviting customer experience for customers to come in and spend some time there.
Very good. And I guess, the good thing about this, I mean, talking to some of the retailers, they always compete with their competitors in the market and, try and obviously do better than their competitors. But I mean, what I find with this kind of competition is that they love comparing themselves with the best of the best globally. And that's much more of a motivator to really drive development in their business rather than just look at their market. They want to be the best globally. And I think that's got a huge resonance, Frank, hasn't it?
Completely agreed, Dan. I mean, we are in a global marketplace, and if you just take some of those competitors, Apple Green's now on 2 separate continents. I mean, they're growing their market share in the US. They've done these big turnpike sites. So we're seeing a lot of that happen. Circle K is a global company. I mean, listen, they're trying to buy up a Japanese convenience retailer at the moment. So we are getting into a massive growth market. I think everybody wants to grow their number of stores. There is quite a bit of consolidation, but the best of the best continue to grow pretty aggressively, Dan.
Oh, for sure. And it's you just all one, the flavors, everything else is starting to kind of blend together. I think you can see as well. But Dan, I want to turn it over to you. Another hard-hitting question here. So what's coming up? I hear we got a pretty big announcement or some announcements coming out soon.
Well, absolutely. So let me just sort of give a final update on the process. So obviously we have 32 entries as we've been discussing. Then we have 12 judges: myself, Karthik, Frank, obviously Oliver from Coke, Christian, George, Brett, Giselle, Craig, and Michael. Those 12 judges have been scoring and judging those 32 entries to create a shortlist. That shortlist will be announced tomorrow. So those retailers who have got on the shortlist will find out tomorrow. Won't be revealing who they are today, but that we'll be doing that tomorrow. And then we move to the final process of the competition, which is even more exciting, if that's possible, which is the vote, where we have a voting by the industry to choose the winner. And the winner is then announced on November the 7th. So that's the process. That's what's coming next, Carolyn.
So October 2nd is our big day. If you want to hear the top of the contest, and then the public can vote at globalconveniencestoreFocus.co.uk, and you can vote as many times as you want, or you get one vote.
You get one vote, and it's the industry who's voting as well. So retailers and suppliers will be making their choice for the best Foodvenience store in the world. And you have one vote, and we obviously are quite rigorous about making sure that happens. And the other thing, of course, is you can vote. You vote not just for your first choice, but for your second and third preference as well. So I think that's it. That's another important part of the process.
Well, I think this is fabulous. It was really awesome to hear everybody's perspective, to hear about your visits. Those of you listening, if you live nearby any of those places, or you just want to buy a plane ticket and fly around the world and visit them all, I mean, we certainly encourage you to then tell us about that and send us some pictures too. But keep an eye on the website, but especially on LinkedIn. We're going to go ahead and announce those top, as well as the winner when this does finally come out on November 7th. So Elaine, Frank, and Dan, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for investing so much of your stomach space and brain space into this as well. I'm sure you've all gotten some really good food out of this. And Dan, I'm excited to hear what's coming up.
Thank you, Carolyn. Looking forward to it.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks, Elaine. Thanks, Frank. And thank you for listening to The Future of Convenience.
You've been listening to the Future of Convenience podcast, produced by Dan Munford, Nick Scherzer, Jenna Ferguson, and Lorraine Evans. It is produced, edited, and mixed by Carolyn Schnare, and music is provided by Jukebox Music. Tune in every other Friday for new episodes, and please subscribe on your favorite podcast platform. Learn more at globalconveniencestoreFocus.co.uk.